I'm Valante, and this is Rebound 2020. What a year we've had so far. So, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to quit? Are we going to throw the year away? Of course, we're not. What we're going to do is rebound. To rebound is to bounce back, spring back, to recover from a setback. We have 6 months left in this year. There's no way we're going to throw those 6 months away. We know what we're dealing with, so now it is time for us to rebound and not only win this year, but to design the best 10 years of our lives. I was inspired to do this because at the beginning of the year, I looked back over the previous decade. Facebook had this thing where you do a picture of you 10 years ago and a picture of you this year. And when I put those two photos side by side, I literally was in tears when I saw the difference, when I looked back at the person I was at the beginning of that decade. And that inspired me to make this decade the best decade of my life and the decade after that to be even better. We're only going up from here. And see, in order for us to do that, we have to understand that our lives, our quality of life is not influenced completely by what happens around us. We've got to take control of our lives. When we consider this pandemic and over 500,000 people are no longer with us, but we're still here. So we have to live. We have to win this. And when I say live, I'm not talking about survive. I'm not going to say I survived this pandemic. I'm going to say I lived through the pandemic. For those of us who have lost loved ones, we've got to live for them. We've got to make their lives worth it by living our lives. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to rebound. So I want you to change. I want your mindset to change right now. Yes, I know we're dealing with financial issues, that we're dealing with grief, we're dealing with social uprisings and rising and injustice. But all of those things are nothing compared to the power that is within us. So I want you to take this journey with me for just a few more minutes and tap into that power. Now, this is recorded. However, I am live online in chat. So I want you to communicate with me, say things to me, ask me questions. I am here for you to answer your questions because we are going to rebound. We are going to rise together. And that's why I wanted to do it in this format, because it's a lot more difficult when you're struggling by yourself with your own issues. But when you see that somebody else went through the same thing, when you see that somebody else overcame the same thing, that gives you energy. And also sometimes when you look back and see what you've overcome, the human spirit is so resilient. We're still here. We're still standing. I always talk about purpose and living life on purpose and living life by design. That's the name of my company. And I want to talk about purpose and I want to talk about reasons. We all have a specific purpose and that purpose remains consistent. But every day that you are allowed to wake up, there is a reason for you being granted the mercy of a brand new day. We've got to seize the day. So no more talk about 2020 being a bad year. No more talk about throwing the calendar away. Get that calendar out and we are going to realize those goals and we're going to make this year work, make it count. When we look back at 2020, we're not going to look back as the year that everything fell apart. We're going to look back as the year that I rose to a level of strength that I did not know I possessed. Rebound 2020. So let's get into it. And I like to break things down into 3 steps. You will always hear me say that things are simple. Sometimes we complicate life too much, but life is simple. And I always say this: simple, but not easy. I didn't promise you it was going to be easy. So if you're looking for me to give you an easy, quick fix, hit pause, go click on the next video, because that's not what I'm going to do. Because rebounding requires work and it requires sometimes things that are painful, but it is so worth it because you're worth it. And I want you to invest in yourself. Rebound. So the first step in rebounding is to reinvent yourself. And this is something that I noticed, again, the resilience of the human spirit. After the first week, I started to see people reinventing themselves, especially business. There was one hairstylist, and she was a really good hairstylist, and everybody would travel to New York to get their hair done. Okay, well, the salon shut down, and she immediately implemented a hairline because she saw that now you have these women who are coming to the shop every week. They're at home and they don't know how to do their hair. So she started booking online consultations with these women to show them how to care for their own hair at home. And then she started a hair care line, and she had an amazing second quarter because she was able to reinvent herself. But see, here's the thing. I want you to look at this. This is critical for reinventing. Reinventing yourself is only possible once you already know who you are. And that's a whole nother course. So I actually did a year-long series on really finding your passion and working in your passion last year. But that is critical. And so she knew that her passion was hair and caring for hair and growing hair and styling for hair. So because she was no longer able to do that in her salon, she found another way. She reinvented herself. And that's what we have got to do. I say all the time, I am a storyteller. I do it by graphic design. I do it through videos. I do it through writing. And that is what I do. I do it through speaking. So any way that I can, I always find myself doing that. And it's so funny because somebody posted the Viewmaster. Remember the toy, the little Viewmaster where you click it and you will see the slides? As a kid, that was my favorite toy. And I remember taking my mom's negatives from her film, her camera, and I would destroy her negatives in film because I would try to make my own slides to go into the viewfinder. Guess what I do for a living? I produce slideshows and videos. I had no idea that what I was doing back then was going to end up what I'm doing now. Whatever you have, it's in you. It's a part of you. And so that's what reinventing yourself is all about. There is no force of nature, nothing that should be able to stop you to do what you were meant to do. You have to reinvent yourself. And if you're going to reinvent yourself, the first thing you need to do is assess, okay? Assess the damage. What has happened? I lost my job. I lost my business. I don't have transportation. I don't have food, whatever it is, assess it. And that's critical because sometimes we don't want to deal with it. We do things to distract us from the solution. Nope. Look it in the face it head on, assess it. What do I need? And sometimes doing that can be overwhelming because you're looking at, I need all of this money and I don't have it. No, look at it and assess it and figure out what it is. You cannot get what you need if you don't know what it is. And so you're going to assess it and say, how do I get back to where I want to be? How much work needs to be done? How much income do I need to generate? You need that assessment. Next step, accept it. So many people are in denial. You have to accept it. And there's this thing, do it for the gram. And they used to call it keeping up with the Joneses. And we try to keep up appearances and pretend like things are better than they are. That is a waste of time and energy. Once you make that assessment, accept it and understand what it is. Embrace it. You embrace it and you understand that it's a part of you. And this is how you are able to pivot. The word that we heard a lot through the pandemic and quarantine was pivot. Okay, I want to go. Now, pivot. A pivot doesn't mean a U-turn. A pivot is a turn. So if I'm going from point A to B, if I want to go from California to New York, then I want to go across the country. So I might need to go south and then turn back around and go. I might need to go north. But what you don't do is go off into the ocean. And so that's what some people are doing with 2020. Because there has been an obstacle, instead of you adjusting your path, accepting it and embracing it and being able to pivot, you just went on off in the ocean and threw the year out the window. But you can't do that. So you've got to be able to embrace whatever it is that you have, whatever your assessment has revealed to you, you've got to be able to embrace that. And once you embrace it, you are ready to implement. Okay, this is the situation I'm in. This is what is going to take for me to get out of this situation. This is what I'm going to do about it. Okay, I want you to, if you have notes, write down the word do, because it is, I don't know why, it is so difficult for us to get to do. When I'm coaching, when I'm teaching, when I'm training, people will tell me, they want to tell me this happened, that happened, this is wrong, that's wrong, and I can't because. I hear that so much. I can't because. And then I'll counteract that with this is what you can do. And I cannot tell you how many people consistently want to keep telling me what they can't do. And I'm telling you, but you can do this. Yeah, but I can't do that. But you can do this. I can. And so I don't know what the thing is, but you've got to get to the do. Implement. Get to the do. Get up and do something. Stop second guessing yourself. Do it. If you are not where you need to be, what can it hurt you to try something new? How can it hurt you to try something different? Evidently, what you were doing before, it didn't work out for whatever reason. And maybe it's not your fault, and that's okay. But what you cannot do is sit back and be depressed and be discouraged. Well, this pandemic came and it caused this problem. And then I'm quarantined, so I can't go anywhere. So how am I going to do this? No, that's not the mindset that you need to have. You need to have the mindset to reinvent yourself. There is a restaurant in my community that I had never been to. I had seen it, I'd driven past, but it just wasn't anything that made me want to go in there. But once the pandemic hit and the quarantine, there was a program on Uber Eats where you're able to eat locally free. It was free delivery, so I tried the restaurant. Delicious. Now it's one of my favorite restaurants, and I found myself, there was an option to donate to restaurant relief. So I found myself donating money because I wanted that restaurant to stay in business so that when the quarantine was over, I would be able to go and enjoy. But what if they had just said, oh, wow, we can't open, we can't serve food, and just not done anything? Step out there. Take a risk. Take a chance on yourself. Believe in yourself. Reinvent yourself. You've got to be able to do something different. When you're stuck in your old ways, you're going to be stuck in the same place. So phase one of your rebound is to reinvent yourself. And I broke that down further into 3 steps, which is to assess, embrace, and to implement. The second phase of the rebound is to repurpose. And I love this because when you live life on purpose, everything that you do is purpose driven. So again, that whole purpose piece is another class. But if you are living life on purpose, then you have the ability to repurpose. And if you just take inventory of everything that you have, you will see that you have everything that you need to move forward. And that's something where people challenge me all the time. And it's so much fun to teach people that, yeah, you do really have everything that you need. And they look at you and they say, how are you going to tell me what I have? You don't know. But here's the thing. If you're living life on purpose, there is something inside of you that draws you to the things that you need. For example, with me, every time I go into the store, if I see a journal or a nice pen, I buy it. I just buy it. I literally have 20 journals. There's one in each purse. There's one in my vehicle. There's one everywhere. Because again, what am I? I'm a storyteller. So I have to always keep something where I can tell that story. I always have that. And let me tell you about what happened to me, right? I produce videos for a living. I'm in the studio now. I come in, I called the studio to make my appointment, and they told me that we're closing tomorrow because of the pandemic. I had a deadline to do an hour-long presentation, and I did not have access to the studio, and everything was closed. So what was I going to do? I went home and I went through my closet. I just happened to have a green screen in the bottom of my closet. Why did I have it? Because that's what I do. And I was on Amazon, which I'm on Amazon way too much. I was on Amazon one day and I saw it at a good price and I figured I might need that one day. So I bought it. And what happened was it was very difficult. Again, simple, not easy. It was very difficult and it was very tedious, but I was able to meet my production deadline using my iPhone and that green screen. And I used a makeshift stand to be a tripod. And that's how I got it done because in those first few days of the pandemic, there was really nothing and I couldn't get stuff delivered as quickly because even Amazon had a delayed delivery time. And so I shared that example because I want you to take inventory. Do it today. If you're feeling like you're in lack, if you're feeling like you don't have what you need to rebound, yes, you do. There are things that you have, there's pieces, and I love doing one on one. You should book me for a one on one coaching session because I love doing one on one assessments with people and I show them resources that they have that they completely overlooked. There are things that you can repurpose in order to rebound when you need to. I have a daughter who's 19 and moved out. I turned her bedroom into the studio. It's on the east side of my house, so I try to record in the morning when I have natural sunlight because I didn't have the studio lights. And I don't know if you know this, but there is no sun, no light that man can create that is as good as sunlight. So I was able to just take what I needed. My dad has a saying that he drilled in us when we were little, and he says, "Take what you want. Take what you have." No, it's use what you got to make what you want. Use what you've got to make what you want. And that is something that has stuck with me. And it's all about your mindset. And you're going to keep hearing me say that. Shift your mindset. I'm to a point where I can't even talk to people too long who have an I can't mindset. Again, I wasn't raised that way. My mom said, if you don't have it, get it. If you don't know it, learn it. And it's a constant push. And I know that we're talking about this pandemic and how it's stressful and how it's difficult and it's okay if you just survive it. Yeah, that is okay. But right now, I'm talking to the people who are trying to rebound because I don't believe in a survival mindset. There's that word again. I believe in an abundant life mindset. I believe that I was created with everything that I need. I possessed it already at creation. And so all I have to do is use, like my dad said, use what I've got to make what I want. So we're talking about rebounding and repurposing, finding things, taking inventory of what you have and making sure that you are utilizing every resource that you have. It could be friends, it could be family, it could be some old items. Go in your attic, go in your garage, go under the bed, go in the drawer, go in the pantry, and look for those things and see how you can use them. Okay? So we're talking about how we're going to repurpose, and then you have everything that you need. And I've learned, again, I'm back to this word again, mindset. It is so much about your mindset. If you keep telling yourself, I have everything that I need, it's going to be okay. That kind of mindset, which is also a byproduct of faith, it makes mountains move. And that is what this whole webinar is really about. When we talk about rebounding, that rebound mindset, I'm reminded of Michael Jordan in that infamous game where he had the flu. And for me, the flu, it would be physically impossible for me to just run up and down my stairs, much less run up and down a court and score in a basketball game like that. We've got to score in life even when we're down. When I used to work in media and I would conduct interviews, celebrity interviews, here's something that really jumped out at me. The people who we admire and seem like they have everything. I've even talked to Oprah, and she's a billionaire. And the people that we admire and they seem like they have everything, we kind of look at them and say, well, they just got lucky, or maybe that they had a start that we didn't have. And I would say about 75% of them had less than I have, and they had less than you have. You already ahead of the game. It's just a matter of learning how to repurpose your time, repurpose your energy, repurpose your resources so that you will be able to rebound. Sometimes when setbacks happen, we have this mindset like we're the only person who experienced this setback. So it gives us an excuse to just fall and not get up. But other people are experiencing the same setbacks and they got up. And no, I don't believe in comparing yourself to other people, but at the same time, we all have the same 24 hours in the day. What are you doing with yours? And sometimes the ability to rebound is simply the ability to repurpose what you already have and make that investment into your life to achieve the things that you want. The final phase of your rebound is realignment. And I think that this may be the most difficult and the most important phase to realign everything when major setbacks happen, like this pandemic and the quarantine. It requires a shift. And sometimes these shifts can be painful. So you have to realign. It's kind of like we talked about repurposing, we talked about having everything that you need, right? But when you have everything that you need, you've got to line it up and put it in order. So part of this realignment is to prioritize. And I know for me, over the last 4 months, my priorities have shifted drastically. Had my priorities remained where they were, I would not have been able to successfully rebound from this. This is my 50th year birthday coming up. And my plan for 2020 was to travel all year. I had to cancel 4 trips because of the pandemic and there was no travel allowed. And we were on quarantine. So that was my plan. That was my priority. And I had to shift all of that. And it shifted to me working with people and me working virtually and all of those things. So to realign, to reprioritize, to prioritize what was important. I reprioritized my health because I'm one who works and runs a lot. And I had to stop. I had to get that self-care in, get those vitamins in, change my diet so that I could fight off and build up my immunity against this virus. So prioritizing, you have to change your priorities from time to time. And that can be difficult because it requires making changes in areas that you may not want to change. And it also impacts the next part of this, which is your network. If you truly want to rebound, your network will change. Oh my goodness, through this entire series of events with the pandemic and all of the social injustice and things that we're seeing, so many of my relationships have shifted. I've seen things in people which let me know this is somebody I need to pull away from. Then I've also seen people rise up and I saw their character stand up and I said, okay, this is somebody I need to draw near. So your network will change. And human nature, sometimes it's very comfort. You always hear the comfort zone. And I see people who have a lot of talent and a lot of potential, and they like to nestle themselves nice and cozy in the midst of what I call yes people. Oh, you're doing a fabulous job. Oh yeah, that's dope. That's cool. That's good. And you're loving these accolades, right? This ego pumping thing. And we get stuck there instead of putting ourselves in an environment where iron sharpens iron. Somebody who's going to challenge you. Somebody who's going to say, yeah, that was pretty good, but why don't you do this? Somebody who says that wasn't quite a good fit. I don't think that was your best work. And it's funny because I talk about my daughter. My daughter will do that to me. I'll ask her what does she think. She'll go, yeah, Mama's okay, but you can do better. I think you should delete that and start over. And I'm like, who are you? But you need someone in your life to challenge you and to always take you to the next level. Your network, there's a saying, it's a cliche, but it is so accurate. Your network determines your net worth. And they're saying that I think that if you're around 5 successful people, you'll be the 6th. If you're around 5 losers, you'll be the 6th. So you want to really guard your network. And this is a really good time. And this is painful, but sometimes you have to sanitize your network. What that means is you're not going to be rude and tell people I'm not going to talk to you anymore, but you have to carefully and strategically plan who you give your time to, who you allow to sow into your spirit, who you allow to speak to your mind. Those are all things, and you're hearing me again, use that word, mindset. people, and I talk to people, and they're around a certain type of people all the time, they all say the same thing. And I'm looking at them, and it's strange because people who are narrow minded, they have narrow minded ideas, and they convince themselves that the entire world fits into their narrow scope of thinking. And you just truncate the limitless possibilities in life when you do that. Even on social media networking, I challenge you. I say this all the time: www, World Wide Web. So that is the opportunity to connect with people around the world who are like-minded and are really people that should be in your network. But so many people use the World Wide Web to interact with people that live on their block or go to their school or in their family or works at the job with them, and they never expand outside of their little bubble. You've got to network. It is true. It is what you know, but it's also who you know. And if you don't know anybody who can lift you up or encourage you, and if you're not doing that for others, then your network is not working. And we don't want to have that happen. And also another part of realignment is to update. It is so easy to get stuck in your ways. I do what I do. I like what I like. I want what I want. I'm not changing that for anybody ever in my entire life. No, 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 no. There are times when you've got to update. My mom has an old IBM computer. She still has it in the basement. That computer is in perfect condition. It's from the 80s. It's in perfect condition. Everything that that computer was supposed to do when it was purchased, it still does it. But that computer is built for the big floppy disk, not even the little square ones, the big, I think they're 5.5 inches square floppy disk. There is no CD drive. There is no USB port. There is no Ethernet because you had to use the old dial-up, and there's not enough RAM in it for me to install any of the current software. So that computer is absolutely worthless. It's not broken. It is in mint condition, but I cannot work on it. I can't do anything on it. And sometimes in life, we hold on to things, relationships, equipment, whatever, things in our lives that are absolutely worthless. It's time for an upgrade. It's time for an update. I don't know if you have an iPhone. I don't know why we need so many upgrades on that phone, but I find myself upgrading my phone. And if I don't, there's going to be little glitches in my app. See, there's little glitches in your life because you're neglecting to upgrade. Yes, it's tedious. Remember I told you, simple. Simple upgrade, simple, not easy. Sometimes when I upgrade, my phone shuts down and I got to go through it. It spends hours because I'm not that technical trying to get everything to work back or get pictures back or I'll lose something. It's a pain, but it's necessary. Some things in life are a pain. Your upgrades, your updates, they are sometimes a pain, but they're necessary. You've got to stay current. Yes, there are certain core qualities, there are certain core values that don't change about you, but the way that we do things have changed and they have to change. So that last step in your rebound is critical. It is realignment. If your life is not in alignment, then you can't make any progress. Your way becomes jagged. It's not smooth. It's not seamless. You can't flow. And you want to be able to flow right in your purpose. That's why this rebound is so critical. So now, as we are at the beginning of the third quarter. You need to make this quarter count. Okay, so now we've seen what everybody is calling the new normal. Things are going to go back a little bit to how they were, but the world as we knew it will never be the same. Accept it, embrace it, deal with it. What are you going to do? How are you going to maintain the quality of life that you desire? Now, that is where your focus is. That's how you rebound. That's how you make the rest of 2020 a wonderful year. And we're not going to throw this year away because I said before, and it's funny because I'm hearing people say, I can't wait till next year. It's just June. or July. I can't wait till next year. And you know what? A lot of those people said the same thing last year. I can't wait till this year's over. 2020 is going to be my year. Again, when you do that, you're setting yourself up to fail. You don't know what 2021 is going to bring. You don't know that it's going to be better in terms of society, in terms of sickness. You don't know that. But the only thing you have no control over that. The only thing that you have control over is making sure that you're better when 2020 comes along. And the only way that you can do that is to rebound 2020. So we talked about rebounding for 2020, but how do we maintain that momentum? What happens if 2021 comes in and it's just as bad? How are we going to keep that level of optimism, that evolution, that growth, that empowerment going? I have what I called the multi-year strategic planning model. And I have a program called Design Your Decade. And what that is you look at a group of years together. I want to move us away from the annual fiscal mindset where the year starts and stops. And we set our goals that way. And even now, people are at the midpoint talking about this year is over because we haven't hit those goals. But there are annual and fiscal goals, but they should be a part of a bigger plan. And that is what Design Your Decade is. I shared at the beginning how I looked back over the last 10 years and I saw such a difference in myself, and I was so grateful for the person that I've become. But the sad thing is, I know a lot of people who started 2020 in exactly the same position that they were in 10 years ago. Same struggle, same issue, same everything. And they had the mindset that this is going to be my year and it's going to get better. And then we all know what happened this year. And those people are just in such dire straits right now, which is why I wanted to do this Rebound 2020. But I also want you to join me for Design Your Decade as we construct the next 10 years. And it is a membership, it's a fee-based membership group. And for anyone who was on this webinar, you can join this group for $20 a month. And we can do that. It will break it up into 5 months. And that is $100. But for $20 a month, you have access. And at the end, you'll have lifetime access. And what that includes is the exclusive Design Your Decade journal. This tool alone is worth it because we're going to start out the way that it's set up. The remainder of the year of this year will be brainstorming and just really thinking about everything that you want in life. Did you know that you can really have everything that you want in life? So we're going to make that bucket list for the next 10 years. And then the way that the journal is set up, you can actually go to the year. So you can go to 2025 or 2028 and you can write down where you want to be at that time. And then you go back and you plan the steps and we will hold you accountable. That's the beauty of this. Again, everything with me is about networking, the By Design Network, which is my company. And we will have a membership where you're talking to like-minded people who can remember and help you stay on task. And you will have individual coaching with me and my team. I have access to the most amazing support system and network that any girl could ever want. And they are all on board to share with you. So that is another thing that you have access to. But back to this journal, if I do say so myself, this journal is my masterpiece. It's the best piece of work that I've ever done. Now, if you know me and if you know anything about my work, not to toot my own horn, but I have a reputation for doing impeccable work. And that's because I work very, very hard. So I'm telling you, this journal is my best work. Now, this $20 a month is only valid if you sign up this month, within the month of July. After that, the journal alone is going to be $97 because, again, this is a critical tool and the journal itself comes with a video explaining how to use it, because if you don't use it right, it won't work for you. But again, you go back and you plan and then it tells you where you're supposed to be. And the way that it's ordered, you know how sometimes when you're using even a yearly planner, you got to go from section to section. Sometimes things get lost and it's a little bit cumbersome. All of those things have been worked out for you. All you've got to do is follow this. And I'm so excited to present this to you. And I'm so excited about you embarking up on this journey with me. Again, it is the Design Your Decade. It is a masterclass. It's a group. It's a network. It's a friendship. It's a class. It's all of that. And on top of that, I have the Sanctuary Academy classes. Within those classes, there are classes on social media, classes on YouTube, personal development classes. Some will be taught by me. Some will be taught by my colleagues, some of the most brilliant minds around the world. And all of that is available to you for just $20 a month for 5 months, but you have to act now. I'm only doing a limited number of these memberships because after that, the membership goes up. And the price of the journal, again, the price of the journal alone is $97. So you're getting all of this for $100 broken down into 5 payments, or you can just do a flat $100 payment. I'm so excited. We have been working toward this. So what you want to do is join today. The link is right here in the video. It should be popping up above my head around it. You should see a little eye or a little something. Click that and go ahead and join the Design Your Decade Masterclass.